That's part of the game. There's frustrations that rise. Fever guard Lexie Hull addresses the heated exchange between Caitlin Clark and head coach Stephanie White during Indiana's loss to Portland. This happened on Saturday. From Saturday to Monday, they called the people that they needed to call. They said, hey, we're going to get Lexie Hull on here, and she's going to calm all of...
That moment felt like the Indiana Fever sending out their cleanup crew. In the days between Saturday and Monday, the organization appeared eager to get someone in front of a microphone to address the growing conversation surrounding the team. The person they chose was Lexie Hull, a teammate many fans view as one of the players closest to Caitlin Clark. The decision immediately raised questions about the organization's intentions. Why was Hull selected to speak, and what message was the Fever hoping to control? More importantly, many observers were left wondering whether the team was simply responding to public scrutiny or attempting to shift attention away from a deeper issue that had been gaining momentum behind the scenes.
Stephanie White, Caitlin Clark yelling at each other on the sidelines. We all see the speculation. The noise around this team is as loud as it's ever been. I haven't even seen it this loud during her rookie season.
The controversy began on the sideline during Indiana's loss to Portland on Saturday, when Caitlin Clark and head coach Stephanie White were seen engaged in a visibly tense exchange. The clip quickly spread across social media, sparking widespread discussion, speculation, and criticism. As the video gained traction, the conversation surrounding the Indiana Fever intensified, reaching a level of scrutiny that many felt surpassed even the attention the team received during Clark's rookie season. With the noise growing louder and public perception becoming a major storyline, the organization found itself facing a familiar challenge: either ignore the controversy and hope it fades away, or step in and attempt to manage the narrative before it grows even bigger.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just, there's frustration. I think we noticed they were trying to pick on Caitlin a little bit on defensive end. She was getting called for some fouls that, fouls aren't fun. She got in some foul trouble. Our team got into some foul trouble, and that's just all it was. I think that's part of the game. There's frustrations that rise, and decisions have to be made. And ultimately, this wasn't something that carried on. This is in the moment, something that happened, and not something that is talked about now in our locker room, talked about even later on in the game. That's just something that happened. And unfortunately, Caitlin got a camera.
Listen closely to how carefully the situation was framed. The explanation pointed to foul trouble, emotions running high, and a disagreement that supposedly existed only in the heat of the moment before disappearing once the game ended. On the surface, it sounds like a reasonable and complete account of what happened. It may even be accurate. But the most revealing part came at the end, when the focus shifted to Caitlin Clark's constant visibility. The message was essentially that Clark is under a microscope 24/7. So every interaction becomes a story. In other words, nothing significant happened. People are simply paying too much attention, rather than directly addressing concerns that fuel the discussion. The response seemed designed to redirect the conversation. It didn't provide new clarity. It encouraged fans to question whether there was ever an issue in the first place.
Clark being left on an island. Nobody likes to be on foul trouble. Well, Stephanie, you're not doing anything to help us out over here. You're not doing anything to help me out. You're just letting me guard this person for 17 seconds. And then if I'm fouling them and it's questionable foul, you're just crossing your arms and not even challenging it. And then I look to the side and you're not even chopping it up with the referees.
Many fans are not buying the explanation because, from Caitlin Clark's perspective, the situation appeared to be about more than simple bad luck. Being left isolated in a difficult defensive matchup while already dealing with foul trouble can be viewed as a result of coaching decisions rather than circumstances beyond anyone's control. In the sequence that sparked debate, Clark was left switched onto a matchup for an extended period, and when a questionable foul was called, the bench chose not to challenge it. The call stood, the officials offered no relief, and the frustration became visible. For many viewers, that sideline exchange did not look like a random emotional outburst that happens during a game. Instead, it reinforced what they believe has been a recurring pattern, which is why the clip resonated so strongly and generated so much discussion.
This is the funny part to me.
Camera is always on Caitlin. No matter what she says or what she does, it's going to make headlines. And I'm sure that rubs off on you and the rest of the team, knowing that when there's a camera on her, there's also a camera on you. How does she, and how do you, and how does the entire team kind of respond to that?
Honestly, it's just continuing to show up and do what you do regardless. There's going to be a microscope. There was a microscope the moment she declared for the draft. There's a microscope on her in college too. But I think for us, it's continuing to just show up and do our job every single day. And
this is the part that many critics believe damage control efforts struggle to address. A single heated exchange between a player and coach can be dismissed as an isolated incident, but when similar moments occur repeatedly, people begin to view them as signs of an ongoing dynamic within the relationship. The concern for many observers is not that one sideline disagreement became emotional in the heat of competition. It is the possibility that those frustrations do not simply disappear when the game ends. Instead, they may carry over into future games, practices, and team interactions. That is the underlying question many felt Lexie Hull was being asked to address when she spoke publicly. While she offered reassurance and attempted to calm concerns, some fans came away feeling that the broader issue remained unresolved and that the lingering questions surrounding the relationship between Stephanie White and Caitlin Clark had not been fully put to rest.
Honestly, it's just continuing to show up and do what you do regardless. Like, there's going to be a microscope. There was a microscope the moment she declared for the draft. There's a microscope on her in college too. But I think for us, it's continuing to just show up and do our job every single day. And
listen carefully to the language being used. The emphasis is placed on the idea that Caitlin Clark has been under a microscope for years, dating back to her college career and continuing through her arrival in the WNBA. Every interaction, reaction, and emotional moment is scrutinized in a way few athletes experience. Then comes a statement that carries the most weight. We're not hiding anything. For many observers, that phrase stands out because it addresses an accusation that had already begun circulating. People generally do not feel the need to insist they are hiding nothing unless questions about transparency have already entered the conversation. As a result, what was intended as reassurance can be interpreted differently by skeptics. Rather than projecting complete confidence, it can come across as a defensive response wrapped in the language of openness, attempting to push back against growing concerns while presenting itself as transparency.
Season. It's hard to win in the WNBA. But ultimately it's early. And I think for us, we fully believe in each other. We fully believe in our coaching staff. And so it's just continuing to show up, put in the work, a handful of those good moments that we have as a team, as individuals, and continue to grow the sport more and more.
You know, Lexie, that attention brings opinion, and everybody seems to have an opinion. Slow start for you guys compared to some of the expectation, which has people yelling about Coach White. So what is the relationship with Coach White with this team? How is that relationship?
We have, a great relationship. I think all of us, we know this is a long season. It's hard to win in the WNBA.
The rest of the message follows a familiar and carefully structured approach. References to team unity, confidence in the coaching staff, the challenges of winning in the WNBA, and reminders that the season is still young are all reasonable points that few would dispute. Likewise, describing the relationship between the players and the coach as strong and positive is exactly the type of response most people would expect from a supportive teammate. However, for some observers, that is where the skepticism begins. When an answer is delivered with such precision, consistency, and polish, it can feel less like a spontaneous reaction from player and more like a carefully crafted organizational message. Whether that perception is fair or not, the speed and smoothness of the response led some fans to wonder if the comments had been thoroughly considered and aligned before the microphone was ever turned on.